All right, now it's recording. I am here with my brother, Impulse, the ultimate Phil bro. I'm a faux Phil bro, and Andrew Wilson is supposed to be talking to Pxie about feminism, but he starts talking about knowledge and stuff. So we're going to be delving into that since they're not actually talking about feminism. This is more of our wheelhouse for now. All right.
Let's get it.
And without further ado, I'm joined today by Andrew Wilson, host of The Crucible. He's a political commentator, political satirist, and blood sport debater. His feminist debate opponent is Pxie. As she goes online, she's the co-host of the Sugar Spice podcast. She graduated from University of Florida with a triple major, getting her BS in psychology and BA in philosophy and economics. Now, you can each have an opening statement, and the rest of the show will just be an open debate / conversation. Pxie will go first, and then Andrew. So go ahead, Pxie.
Hi, I'm Pxie. I was asked to basically begin with a general world
And just let me know whenever you want to pause it.
view. Obviously, that's really complicated and really hard because the world's complicated and hard. But if I had to say what I generally believe in, most of my principles are utilitarian-like, the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people with the least amount of harm possible. Other than that, I'm a big fan of rules like veil of ignorance, right? If we didn't know what race, gender, whatever component you want to say, and we're going to be thrust into society, how would that society ideally be? I just want to live in a world that is as equal as possible in terms of opportunity and, you know, with a basic standard of living. That is my ideal. Obviously, life be a little bit more complicated than that. And even in terms of utilitarianism, oh, God.
Party foul. Party foul. It's okay.
Utilitarianism.
You're fine.
Yeah, I still believe that.
How many utils did you just lose?
So many.
So many.
I'm going to that place.
It's negative 10 utils.
I still think that we have certain duties towards, you know, our loved ones or, you know, our friends, family members, etc., etc. But yeah, overall, I have more of a utilitarian perspective on things. That's my general worldview.
Peace out. Peace out. You too, homie.
Sorry, did not mean to press that. I had to move. I was cleaning up the popcorn.
And then I guess we can get into your views on feminism.
Yeah. Do you want me to do that right now? Or
Yeah,
do you
for
want
just
to-
your opening. So
Yeah.
I was just requesting that you gave me your worldview so that I knew what prism you're looking through as you kind of tell me what your takes are on feminism.
Yeah, so basically my general view on feminism is that we've made a lot of long strides when it comes to equality. I still think that there's certain like gender stereotypes or behaviors that we like punish for both men and women. I do think men are sometimes at a slight advantage when it comes to certain power structures in place because of old notions of what it means to be masculine or feminine. But yeah, I just want to strive to be in a world where, you know, a guy can act sad or emotional and they're not punished for it. And where a woman can act like, you know, straightforward or confident or direct and not be punished for that either. That's just where I'm at.
So just to reiterate very quickly, your general worldview is utilitarianism. The only thing I just want to quickly follow up on is you said that you have duties. Does this fall under threshold deontology where you feel that there's up and then you switch over to utilitarianism?
Yeah, basically. I mean, if there was one moral system that solved it all, we wouldn't be constantly debating about this in philosophy.
So, something interesting during when I was listening to this, it doesn't have to commit you to threshold deontology, at least what she said so far. Because threshold deontology just tells you that there's a duty up until a point, right? And then utility considerations take over. However, you could be how she articulated it sounded more like kind of what's called value pluralism. There's like different types of values, and sometimes those values typically conflict. But they're all there's like you have utilitarian considerations, you have deontic considerations. If you're a virtue ethicist, you can add character considerations in there. as well, and it's just a balancing act between all of them. It doesn't have to be threshold deontology. You could be a value pluralist. At least from what she described, it sounded more like value pluralism than threshold deontology, at least to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I mean, she could, because there is a difference between like rule utilitarianism and threshold deontology. What she's saying is also consistent with like some sort of rule utilitarian. She's not necessarily some sort of threshold deontologist, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, she also mentioned like things like the veil of ignorance. Interestingly enough, there's a lot of fun things you can do with that. But because that is a view that you can use to like guide judgments on things or make rules to society. But if you want to add all these things together, I don't see how that's threshold deontological. Because at no point did I ever hear, up until a point you have, it changes over to considerations. And nowhere did I hear anything sounding anything like that. So.
Yeah, I didn't hear, because when I think of threshold deontology, I think of something like you ought do X until a utility threshold is met, then you ought do Y, something like that. That's like the general principle, and I didn't hear her say anything like that, so it's not necessarily TD.
Yeah, it's like the whole idea, like the whole point of threshold deontology is that it's like, what was that word? Pro tanto. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's like to the extent that it some utility is met. Yeah.
True.
Philosophy, right? Like this wouldn't be a thing that's still talked like in academia for forever. But basically, even though I ascribe a lot to like to utilitarianism in the sense of like greatest amount of good for greatest amount of people, there is still a level of duty that you have towards your friends or family. So for example, let's say you get slightly more utility by, in a hypothetical reality, right? This might not make sense, whatever. In a hypothetical reality, lying to everybody about your friend in a negative manner for whatever reason. Let's say that just produces more utility in the world.
Yeah.
Well, then there's two things there. I think you can probably still create a better world where you don't have to stoop to such a level to lie in a malicious manner, most likely. And then second of all, you also shouldn't do that because that's your friend. And I guess what I'm trying to say here, what I'm trying to get at, is that there's a way to be good to each other on a personal level that I think a framework of duty explains better than a framework of utility. So you could have a framework of utility when it comes to like
the more she talks,
general policies, like on a large scale, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I mean, it doesn't sound like some sort of strict utilitarianism. But I think I'm getting lost in her language. Did you understand her hypothetical with either? I don't know what she was saying. Lying about your friend.
I think it's like,
go ahead.
Yeah. So like I say, you get like some utility increase by lying about your friend. Should you lie about your friend? And she might say like, no, she's your friend. Don't lie about your friend. That's like wrong. And that's like that's like the duty not to lie about your friend. I think that's what the whole point is, that she's trying to tease out the whole duty towards one's friends and things like that. That was what she was trying to do.
But if there is some sort of threshold there, then it would start to sound like.
I don't know if she's a threshold deontologist. That's the thing. If she was only,
that's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. Like if she's a value pluralist, then it's just a balancing act between the two. Maybe she said only a little bit utility. I heard like there was a slight increase in utility. Maybe that's not enough. Whatever she had in mind there might be different.
Yeah, true. I was just thinking, because if there is some sort of threshold, that just sounds like threshold deontology. At that point, you ought to do X until a utility threshold is met, then you do Y, or you ought to do Y. She hasn't said that yet, but if she were, because I'm assuming she would say something like that. So maybe she is a threshold deontologist and she doesn't realize it.
Maybe.
Or maybe not, though. Maybe she just like, there's an infinite amount. Yeah. Maybe there's like an infinite amount of utility that could be lost. And she just wouldn't care. You shouldn't lie about your friend.
Yeah, I think so. I think there might be like, I think she's just balancing the whole scales.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, like, how should I treat you? Should I treat you with kindness? That's where you get a little bit more individualistic. Obviously, sometimes these things can like contradict. Again, moral philosophy, as you know, is
I don't know, man.
pretty complicated in terms of like
pluralism.
academia. There's
It's
so
like
many different
the whole
arguments.
idea that
I'm
it
open
conflicts,
to learning
that's typical
to.
of pluralism. The whole idea that it conflict, like the more she keeps talking, the more it sounds like pluralism. Because like there's like this notion that like it typically it like not contradict, but like I wouldn't use the word contradict, but I would just say like conflicts. There's like conflicting values. It's like very typical to the pluralist. But it's just the more that she talks, the more it sounds like she's a pluralist to me. I don't know. Call me crazy. Because I'm a pluralist, so it's like, what's up, Eddie?
No, I kind of zoned out when she was talking right there because it was a short little clip. What exactly? It's okay if you don't remember. What exactly did she say that made you jump in again
like
and make you say that?
Stuff contradicts, like ethics contradicts and stuff like that. Like that sentence is very typical that you hear very, very commonly, or not necessarily the word contradicts, but conflicts. That's very, very common in the value pluralist literature, and when you have very fundamental ethical principles conflicting with each other.
I see.
And that's like a very common value pluralist like thing that they say, and that's why I always say it's just a balancing act.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Talking more about it. It's just obviously something that people still wrestle with a lot because there are a lot of moral conundrums out there.
Yeah, I don't think that you could explain the entirety of your worldview in a single opening statement, right? Yeah. I'm just kind of looking for the key point principles. So utilitarianism, the basic harm principle, and then a threshold where it meets duty. So duty has to be in play there in some points because you don't think that utilitarianism itself can accommodate everything. Okay. So there's like a bit of threshold deontology. All right. So I'll dive into to my opener here. So I came to Christianity first logically rather than spiritually. The spiritual part of it came after the logical part. That actually is very common with people, more common than people know. So to give you kind of my framework and understanding, I'm an Eastern Orthodox Christian, so that's the viewpoint that I go, look at the world from.
Intel Wild donated $100. Andrew, for all of us on the Crucible / whatever side, please wreck this woke, leftist bluehead, feminist Nazi, tree-hugging, carbon footprint, gender pronoun Kuma.
Blue-haired? That's where I draw the line. For everything else is fine, but I clearly do not have blue hair.
She only has green hair sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
In edited thumbnails.
Yeah, so I'm an Eastern Orthodox Christian. But to give you an overview of what that means, I'm going to kind of accommodate Catholics and then what I would consider most Protestants would consider to be a Christian. So from my worldview, knowledge is not possible without there being a God. It's not even possible. And here's what I mean by that. Without
you want to jump in, dude?
I don't know. I don't even know how they get to this conclusion, but
what's the argument?
Yeah, true. I don't.
That's great.
I don't know how it's not possible, but okay, let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, true. Maybe he gives an argument. Who knows?
An unerring standard, or a standard which is unchanging, your ability to know something is going to be arbitrary. Any appeal that you make, any standard appeal that you make to anything ever is going to reduce to relativism, and it's going to reduce to being arbitrary no matter what. So because that standard doesn't exist, I actually believe that there is truth which you can know and knowledge which you can know because I appeal to the standard which is unchanging. The reason we're Trinitarians, meaning we believe in the triune nature of God, is because it was with God and God was the Word. Okay. What this is saying is if you move forward to 1:14 in John, it says, and the Word became flesh. So that would be Jesus Christ. So in the beginning. 14, the Word becomes flesh. So that means Jesus Christ is God, right? Part of the nature of God. John 14:6, Jesus Christ says, I am the way, the truth, and the light. Okay, so the key word there for us is truth, right? The way, the truth, and the light. So in philosophy, a justified true belief is knowledge, right?
I mean, according Aristotle is the one, or
Well,
not? I can't remember who exactly.
So this is like okay. I don't know of many philosophers nowadays who take just a basic JTB approach. Just basic JTB, especially after Gettier published his paper. I want to know how he handles Gettier cases. I don't think he's gonna. If he's just JTB, I want to know what exactly he has to say about Gettier cases. I don't think he can actually solve them.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just JTB. Maybe a lot of philosophers lean towards JTB plus meaning they add something else into the mix. Another type of view is like reliabilist types. It can be seen as a type of it's just another form of calling reliabilism justification, or justification reliabilism. You can call it that. The way that I go about it, I replace the justification condition and then I just add the reliability condition. I'm not gonna go too deep into that. However, I want to know what exactly he thinks his solution to the Gettier problems are, because not a lot of people nowadays take knowledge to be JTB. It typically is JTB plus. So I would like to hear that out.
Yeah, I know. I think they get into that, but I don't even think he's very familiar with JTB cases, because I'm pretty sure Pxie brings it up, and he takes JTB to like be some sort of Cartesian skeptical scenario or something, instead of like the classic examples of like a sheep on a hill, the barn house cases, broken clock, right?
Yeah, because you have two types.
Okay, I don't remember. It's been like, go ahead.
No, because generally speaking, you have two types of Gettier cases. You have like inferential Gettier cases, which is trying to go from like a disjunct. So it's like, what is it? Let's say what is this guy's name? John is in Barcelona. So the interesting part of a disjunct is that all you need is one side of the disjunct to be true, and then you get the disjunct itself being true. So what you can do, let's say actually John is in Barcelona. So you can say either John is in Barcelona or Mary Poppins exists. Mary Poppins does not exist, therefore John is in Barcelona. So then you get solutions to that, things like false lemmas, which try to say you can't infer from a false, I think it was premise or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have the very common Gettier cases where you have like things like the broken clock, where you just look at the clock for an instance. Let's say the clock broke last night at exactly 8 p.m. You look at it exactly at 8 a.m. and you form the belief that it is at 8. I don't see how these are Cartesian skeptical scenarios. I would like to see what he thinks about that, but I don't know. I don't remember this exactly. I don't know why he thinks that anyways.
Yeah. We'll see here in a second.
Anyways, you don't have to accept
continue.
JTB. You don't have to, just moral of the story, you don't have to accept JTB. You can take a reliabilist or a plus approach. Yeah. Right.
And I mean, I haven't looked at really quick before I start to play it. I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. What percentage of philosophers take, I'm assuming very few, a minority take JTB alone, but what percent of them take JTB plus rather than like a virtual reliabilist view?
I was just looking at the Phil paper survey yesterday. I don't remember exactly. We can actually look it up real quick. Let me see if I can find it. But I don't think it's that many. But I don't know if they actually
really
look it up. Phil papers survey 2020. However, I don't know. There's questions about the reliability of the paper of the the survey, but whatever. Let's see. Reliabilism. Reliabilist.
I'm just curious how many take JTB plus versus other notions of knowledge.
So, it looks like it's for reliabilism. I wish I could show it on this thing, but it says right here for justification, reliabilism about justification. It's about 27, but this is talking about the relationship, like coherentism, infinitism, and non-reliabilism. Let me see if they have something else on that. I don't see anything on that. Infinitism, coherentism. Yeah, it's just about because what you would compare it to is evidentialism and other forms. Let me see if externalism. Actually, that'd probably be better. Because you have other theories. Let's say epistemic.
Because I do think there's a survey on that.
Yeah. So about, I guess, Jesus Christ. Okay, this is a lot more than I thought. Okay, about epistemic justification, internalism is at 35.7%. And externalism is about 50.5%. And then 18% is like other views, some other view. So I guess externalism is winning out, and reliabilism is an externalist view. You can have other views, but we won't get too deep into that. At least that's what it's saying on the paper.
I mean, that's probably a pretty clear picture.
Yeah,
because JTB and JTB plus, those are going to be internalist notions. I'm sorry, there's a delay. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, JTB plus typically is taken as internalist. Reliabilism is typically taken as externalist. If we have a 50%, 50% of philosophers or epistemologists, people who have a position on the view, they lean externalist. I don't see how you can say that philosophers typically today take on, typically understand it as JTB. Because I'm assuming he doesn't have the same conception of JTB that they have in mind.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Let's get it.
But then
knowledge is a justified, true belief. So you can have a justified belief. That doesn't mean it's true. So since we don't and must be God, because that's the only inerrant, unchanging standard that there could ever be for truth, essentially, I feel like most everything that anybody tells.
Okay, when people say that, really quick, I'm sorry. When he says truth is God, is that like talking about identity, or do you think that's like some sort of predication?
I think they want to say something
guess.
like truth is in the nature of God.
I'm assuming it's not identity, right?
I hope it's not identity, because otherwise it's ridiculous. I'm thinking right. I have no idea. Because if it's, I have no idea. I don't know, actually. What does it even mean to say God is truth? I mean, I've heard like what it means to say God is truth, just to say he doesn't lie. I've heard that before. It's just a different way of saying it, but I don't know if to say literally truth, like a proposition, like he is true, like he's a sentence that can be true or false. I don't know about that one.
Well, listen, when he says God is truth, all he's saying is that he is the fundamental and ultimate in this worldview, which grounds intelligibility, knowledge, and logic. You know?
Yeah, when he says God is true, it's just
I think it's my view too.
Yeah, true. When he says that, if he just means that God is the foundational proposition, I'm like, isn't God a concrete object? I don't understand. Isn't that the point of a God? Is that there's engaging in causal relations? I don't know.
All right, sorry. All right, I'm gonna keep going.
Let's do it.
Tells me who's not a Christian is a lie because it has no foundational grounding for it to be true. It's moving towards some kind of standard which is completely arbitrary. So I think that your worldview in and of itself destroys the very ability for you to even have knowledge. So that is my worldview and how I see things. Now, I'm not here.
Even if knowledge is like context sensitive, there are some views that do take knowledge to be context sensitive. That's fine. Why would we expect to knowledge is just gone? Why? I don't. This just seems to be a blatant just assumption on his view. It's just you need something that's unchanging. Since if knowledge is like relative or context sensitive, I'm taking relative to me depending on the context. Unless he means something like mind independent or mind dependent, we can get deeper on that. But like, I don't understand. Even if we do take a view such like that knowledge is context relative, why does that eliminate knowledge? It just means knowledge is relative to context. That's it. It doesn't get you to anywhere else. That's it. I don't know why I believe this.
And I also don't, he keeps using the word arbitrary. I don't exactly know what he means there. If he's just saying like, is he saying there's no explanation for why knowledge exists? And also maybe he does take JTB plus, and the plus is just God. So when he says, well, in your worldview as an atheist, you can't have knowledge, right? Trivially speaking, because you're not referencing God when you say that you know something, you know?
Yeah, it's just that the whole idea, I did a video on this, it's like, it's just God knowledge. And that's just like, yeah, if you just mean by knowledge, it's just God knowledge. Yeah, I don't have that. But then it's just it's just very trivial objection. It's just calling me an atheist. Yeah, I don't have the type of knowledge that requires God. Yeah, thanks. I know that. I don't need you to tell me that. But then you could just retort.
I don't know why.
Sorry, there's a delay on my end, I think.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, you could just retort back to him. Yeah, I just take knowledge to be. I just take knowledge to be a type of, you with plus platonic objects without a God, right? And do you have that knowledge? Okay, so you don't have my knowledge. You don't have knowledge. Okay, which platonic objects? So it's like, or you could just say psychophysical laws, which they reference like psychophysical laws or some shit like that. You don't have that type of knowledge. Okay, you don't have knowledge either. So it's just a pointing at each other's fingers. It's just a dumb critique.
Yeah, and there's also this delay is killing me. There's also realist views, epistemic realists that think that, kind of like the moral realists, that there are these sort of epistemic norms that that we ought, I don't know if follow is the right word, but there are things that we ought to believe, and these things are true, independent of anybody's stances. And if somebody takes that view, he keeps saying arbitrary and relativism. Those views wouldn't necessarily be relativistic. I just feel like he thinks that if you're an atheist, then you must be an anti-realist. None of these things are. None of these norms are. None of these norms can be mind independent. And it's necessarily arbitrary, and everything just turns out to be relativism. But I don't. They never give a justification for that. They never give an argument for that.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't think they will. But we'll see.
Yeah.
To have a pre-sup debate with you about Christianity, right? But I did want to my view and how it is that I think about Christianity. And I think most Christians think of it this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel bad because I know we're supposed to talk about feminism, but I want to ask you if you've ever heard of Gettier problems.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about them?
The thing is that those can be reconciled through the Orthodox worldview as well. Okay. So you're talking in the Gettier problems of the laws of logic having problems, like, You could be half in a room, half in a different room, stuff like this. But these are semantic issues, right?
No.
Forgot
All right,
about
here,
this.
let me give you an example
What
of
is
a
this?
getting
He's so
Bro doesn't even know. Unironically, bro doesn't know. I think he's just thinking about liar problems. The liar sentence and things like that. Like there's a sentence that, like the sentence in the other room is true, and you gotta go to the other room, and then the sentence in the other room is false. Things like that. Yeah, bro just doesn't. That's not. Gettier examples don't necessarily have to do anything with logic. Actually, they don't. It just has to do about one arriving at a justified, true belief by luck, by accident, or something like that. That's all that is. Jesus. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
He focuses. I guess the problem is I guess he focuses a lot on epistemology, given that he's a precept. Yet he doesn't know the basics of like epistemology. Like literally what caused the shift between externalism and internalism. That paper from Gettier that generated the shift between internalist and externalist. He just doesn't even understand. Like he's. I guess I'm disappointed.
Yeah. I think he's more focused on like he knows like this. Oh man, I don't want to like shit on him too much, but he knows like the surface level sort of buzzwords. He has decent debate mechanics and rhetoric. But once you dive like just a little further than surface level, he kind of just like breaks down, right? But he's like super confident when he says these things. So unless you like actually know the substance, you just kind of take his word for it. And I think that's very problematic.
Pxie had a chance to like.
I don't like that. It comes off as sophistry.
But she didn't take it.
Yeah. That delay is killer.
Yeah, the delay is getting crazy.
Is there a way to fucking fix that?
So for example, let's say you are driving by in your car, and then you pass, what is it? You pass a barn, and you say, "There's a barn." It's justified. You saw it. It's a belief that you're holding, and it's true. Except in this case, in this scenario, that was actually a fake barn, and right behind it was a real barn. I know that sounds weird, but obviously it's just a theoretical.
Sure.
Technically, your belief is still true. You said there's a barn over there. But can you really say that's knowledge? Did you truly know there was a barn there when what you were pointing to was, in fact, a fake barn?
But I mean, that would just move into precept. So whatever standard implied knowledge that you would have be relative anyway. So who cares if there's a barn behind it or not? Because
it doesn't move to precept. It doesn't move to precept. Precept's not gonna.
That's just where you want to go.
Huh?
I said that's just where you want to go.
Yeah. Like how is listen, whether God can account for logic, knowledge, whatever. Let's say God accounts for knowledge, JTB. You still have Gettier problems to deal with. JTB applies to the analysis of knowledge that has to do with JTB. There are other forms of like some Gettier problems still apply. Like if you're a reliabilist, she just gave a case of barn facade. That applies to the reliable. Well, you gotta sweep it around a little bit, but the whole point of the reliabilist is that they come to believe there's a barn there, when in fact they're in this place called Barn Facade County, and it just happens to be that there's a real barn there, exactly where the reliabilist is looking at, and it's formed through the reliable belief forming dispositions and things like that. Now, going to precept is not going to solve any of this unless you can give an analysis of knowledge that can avoid Gettier problems. Yeah, that's it.
This is where we go to precept.
I'm like, why would we go to precept?
He was so confident.
Jesus.
That's great.
Whatever you're going to appeal to know that there's a barn behind it, it's going to be an arbitrary standard, which can be reduced to relativism.
I mean,
see,
what do you?
Why?
What does
I don't
that
understand
mean?
that. Why does he think that?
What does that mean?
Why is it arbitrary and why is it necessarily relativistic? I don't understand that.
Even if it is
You're
relative.
just saying it.
it can still count as knowledge even if it's relative to like context. I don't understand why he thinks that. So long, listen, all that's required for you to, let's say you have a case of knowledge, like let's say you go out there, you form the belief that there's a tree outside. Now, what's the analysis of knowledge? Let's say you have true believing through, I don't know what's it, through like, let's say as a theory of justification, we use evidentialism.
Mhm.
You say that the evidence is such that on balance, it all gives me reason to believe that there is a tree outside. Now, it's either true or it's not true that the tree being outside is expected on the hypothesis that there is a tree outside. The perceptual experience of there being a tree outside is consistent with that. And if it meets that condition, you have knowledge. There you go. I don't know why this idea of relative or not, where it's coming from. Even if it is relative, it doesn't really matter. You can still have knowledge. Because there are views that relativize it, but that's besides the point. I don't know why he keeps thinking this.
Yeah.
I want to hear an argument. What's the argument? What's the argument? What's this idea that he has in his head? Give it out. Jesus.
See, like somebody like Pxie would do well with some Philbro rhetoric. You know, she needs to watch some Amdir debates on Monkey Boy's channel or something. You know, like
Yeah, that's the ultimate.
What's the argument for that?
Yeah, that's the ultimate Phil bro right there.
You know, what's the argument? What's premise one?
Does it have to be arbitrary? I guess.
Yeah, you can never. I don't see how, if you didn't have a standard
That's
which
just
was unchanging and it
incredulity.
could not
I
be
don't
changed,
see.
how it wouldn't reduce to a relative.
Yeah, right. That is an argument from ignorance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't see. I'm like, bro, okay. Thanks.
And what does he mean by unchanging? Why can't somebody have a consistent semantic for when they say that they know something that applies universally across all contexts? Is that what he means by unchanging? Because that sounds like that would meet that criteria.
Yeah, I think that would be something I would consider. That's how I'm understanding unchanging, that it applies to all cases, without changing the conditions. Which that's what many of the philosophers in epistemology are trying to do.
You're right. That's the whole project, right? Yeah, they want to make something that either matches the sort of folk intuitions that we have about knowledge, or some sort of consistent criteria that's going to be used in every context. Yeah, I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
What the fuck do I know?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what he has to say.
Tip standard.
Okay, I'm gonna put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that there is a certain period in time where you had this village, and in this village, they decided that like when the water falls down, when you're getting water, whatever, you should give it to the old people first because they need it more. You know, it's more important that they get water first. Whatever. Sorry. And let's say over time, everything gets better, like their water systems get better, blah, blah, blah. Things become more evolved, more advanced. And now that rule is arbitrary. Things changed, the circumstances changed, but it doesn't mean that rule is always arbitrary. What I'm trying to convey here is that...
No, okay. That rule would not have been arbitrary. So the meaning of arbitrary, meaning without system or something like this, but it would have been relative.
Yeah.
And that's the point. It would have been a relative rule. So it wouldn't have been anything that you were basing it on other than some metric
It's
you made
not about
up.
relativity.
But
it's not about the relativity.
Even though it was a metric you made up.
It's not about the... Well, it is about the relativity because that's what he's trying to say. Play that back a little bit. Maybe
He's acting like that's an issue.
I don't know why. I don't know why it would be an issue because from what he keeps saying, it sounds like he has a problem with both relativity and arbitrariness.
Arbitrarity. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it sounds like now he's saying that there is no problem with relativity. It's just the arbitrariness. Unless you want to play that back.
No, I heard it vice versa. It sounded like he was saying that wouldn't be arbitrary, the example she gave, but it would still be relative.
Also, the problem is relativity.
Here, let's rewind it just to be sure. Hold on.
Just try to make sure. Yeah.
It was
Maybe I
the
didn't hear it right.
metric.
Point. It would have been without system. That rule would not have been arbitrary. So the meaning of arbitrary, meaning without system or something like this, but it would have been relative.
Yeah.
And that's the point. It would have been a
Okay,
relative rule. So it wouldn't have been anything that you were basing it on other than some metric you made up.
But even though it was a metric you made up, it was a metric that was tied down towards like our physical reality of how we interact with each other, how the environment is.
But could somebody have come in and said, don't give the water to the old people first? And they could have agreed to that, right?
They could have agreed to that, but that doesn't mean that they did what was in the best interest of
Sure,
the
but
society.
that means that the standard can be changed. So if the standard,
Why can't the standard change on his view?
I don't know. I don't know.
How does this critique not apply to him as well?
Well, he wants to probably say that it doesn't change because it's always good everywhere, no matter what. But because he believes in an unchanging deity or something like that. I think that's what he might say, but I still don't know why. So. Even if knowledge changes case by case, I still don't know how that's not knowledge. Even if we grant that.
He hasn't really given a critique. He's just using buzzwords like arbitrary and it's relative. But like, what's the issue exactly? What's supposed to be like the reductio? What's supposed to be the contradiction in the view? Is it supposed to be false? Like, I don't understand what the critique is. That's where I'm getting lost.
I'm still trying to find that out too. I don't know why we should the things that I'm trying to grant a couple things. Like, let's assume it is relative. Why does it still not count as knowledge? And two, what's the argument that it even is relative? And we're just not hearing an argument for that.
Right. Yeah.
Standard can be changed. Standard is relative. For instance, the laws of logic can't be changed.
Okay.
So for instance, can you tell me how you would change the laws of logic without appealing to the laws of logic first?
No,
you're
I'll
you're gonna
agree
be
with
like,
you that the laws of logic can't be changed.
Right. If you're a dialetheist, you're gonna be like, yeah. I mean, it's not that they do change. It's just like classical logic is false or something like that. Unless you're a conventionalist, you can say if you're a conventionalist, it's probably gonna say something along the line. It just depends on the system in which you're using. If you're using, let's say, in a way, I'm changing systems. If I'm talking to Grand Priest and we're working out some argument using classical logic or whatever, I'm working under a different system. There's like a change going on there from classical, and vice versa. If I'm talking to someone else who holds to classical logic, let's say like Michael Huemer, if I would hold to classical logic or intuitionistic logic and talk about vagueness and stuff like that.
Yeah. I just wonder how he would respond to this sort of stuff, because I know him, Jim Bob. I don't know about Jay. I feel like Jay would have a better response than them two, but I don't know if they've ever dealt with somebody that doesn't use classical logic or doesn't think that, or thinks that, because we know people like this, that they're agnostic about the law of non-contradiction, for example, because the law of non-contradiction, it quantifies over all propositions, including propositions and possible worlds, right? And they want to say that they're agnostic, that the law of non-contradiction is true, because maybe it is the case that there is some sort of proposition that is both true and false simultaneously. And you would just need one example of that to show that the law of non-contradiction isn't true.
I mean, you could give like the liar, or you can give like the sentence in the other room example. But like, they were talking about knowledge. They weren't even talking about like classical logic. They just went from things like knowledge or the analysis of knowledge to like, now we're talking about the nature of logic and like true in all cases, whether it's a system or it's just like we're just jumping all over the place.
Yeah, not very linear. All right.
changed. But I think what I'm trying to disagree with you here on is just because something can be changed doesn't necessarily make it arbitrary.
No. Arbitrary in this case, if you're talking about the definition of has no system to it, I believe that you can come up with all sorts of systems and then it's no longer arbitrary, but it's still relative. It's still made up. And so what I'm saying is that the laws of logic are not relative. They're not made up. They exist as a metaphysical reality, and they must exist as a metaphysical reality because they can't be changed. And if you can change them, I would love to know how you could.
Can I ask you a question?
Do you even? I don't even want to like engage in like the whole logic discussion. Like I don't even really care for.
We don't have to talk
you
about the
say
logic discussion. Nah, well, I mean, we could say just like, well, I guess I'm curious how he treats. I want to see what he has to say about against people who don't hold to classical logic, who are working like. Does he think like the enterprise of like intuitionistic logic and people who are working on other forms of logics that aren't classical? Like, are these people like wasting their time? Like, is it like, do you think it's like what are they doing exactly? What is it in their view that they're doing?
Right.
I don't know. I guess it would be a very bold statement to say, yeah, they're just like it's just they're just wasting their time. There's no point of it. I mean, I don't know if it is wasting the time because there's really significant problems. Like at least at first glance, like the liar sentence, or the sentence in the other room, or you could say things like the sentence below this one is false. The sentence below this one is false. Like keep going all the way down, and then reference back to the reference back to the first one. Yeah, just if you're watching this, just do it yourself. Just on a line of sheet of paper, just write the sentence below this one is false. The sentence below this one is false, all the way down, and then at your last sentence, just circle back to the first one. You say the first sentence is true, and then you run into the same problem. Yeah, and I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know what he has to say to these problems. I don't know. But anyways, we won't talk about logic too much.
Yeah, I was gonna give maybe an answer to that, but if I post this, the whole thing, I don't want to give the answers. Okay, so
yeah, I know which answer you're thinking about too, but I'm not gonna listen. We're here to cause problems, not help people out, right?
Exactly, dude.
On like how do you define, and this sounds funny or weird, but how do you define like objectivity?
Well, it depends on what you mean by objectivity. So like an easy way might be correspondence theory of truth, that which corresponds with reality, you could say, is objective. There's many different theories of truth which are encompassed in Christianity, but I think correspondence theory would be fine for us to use as some definition for objective truth.
Yes. Okay. And just to
hold on, she asked for the definition of objective, and he starts talking about theories of truth. Is he just constantly in like want to be Phil bro mode, debate bro mode? Like what is that? Like, bro, just say like mind independent or something. Jesus Christ! like okay. Anyways,
I don't know. Yeah, this is
objective truth. Crazy. You would have to, because you believe in
that objective standard. So if you believe in a subjective truth and everything is relative, then like for your moral standard, what do I even care about your moral standard for?
Yeah. Okay. So, because in my head, what are you writing? She's crazy.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Where was I?
We're talking about subjective.
Yes, subjective, objective. What that which relates to an outside reality. So I think, and we agree with this definition, just making it crystal clear.
Well, I'm not sure if we agree on it or not. I don't think we need to for the purpose of the debate. I'm just trying to express to you what my viewpoint is as we go into the debate on feminism.
Yeah.
Stop for a second.
I'm probably not going to agree with your principles of utilitarianism.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
We've like hopped around through so many hoops just to get here. It's crazy. We went through ethics.
I know.
We went through epistemology. We went through logic. We went through truths briefly. And then like we went to like what's objective and subjective. I'm like, how many fields of philosophy are we gonna like go through before we actually just get to the topic that we're discussing. Actually, not even that. Worst part is like, just stick to one topic. Oh my god, like this is insane.
Right. Jesus Christ. I don't know what any of this has to do with the topic that they're talking about, but it gives us something to talk about, you
Yeah.
know?
I appreciate it. Yeah, true.
Yeah, because I don't know if I have any hot takes about feminism. Maybe I do though.
Maybe you'd read Humor's recent book.
When did he release that? Was this like a week
Very
ago?
recently, I think so. It's very recent. It literally came up on my Facebook page, when he released it. So well, I don't know when he released it. Maybe he took a couple days to let people know. But yeah, I don't know exactly. But it's new.
Nice. That might be the one book I actually sit down and read, because you guys keep talking about how good his writing style is. So I might actually
Just
be
read
able to sit down
knowledge.
and read it.
Fuck that book. Don't read politics. Read knowledge. Understanding knowledge. That's the book you should be reading.
Dude, fuck that. I do think I'm going to go back on my politics arc. I keep saying that, but
cringe, bro.
I know it's so cringe. I've already started a whole Word document. I'm putting both of the candidates' policies on there, and then I'm going to go through them. I'm going to link a bunch of research on their policies to see if they've been done in other countries, to try to build out arguments and stuff. So yeah, that should be fun.
You're gonna have
Maybe you can help me with that, dude. Maybe you should go on a politics arc.
Nah, I'm taking U.S. government right now. I'm good. maybe that's why I should, right? Because I'm already going through it in class. So.
You can just help me build out the arguments. You don't have to do any of
true.
the research. You can just trust that my conclusions
Your intuitions
that I come
are correct,
are
true tracking. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right.
Nor you with my principles of Christianity. But that doesn't mean that if we both can look at like correspondence theory or something like that, that which corresponds with reality, that maybe we couldn't find some common ground here on feminism itself.
Yeah, I agree. I think just my main issue that I take is that when you are, because I also believe in objective morality, but I believe in it, I think, for a different reason that you do. And
well, no shit.
There's so many thoughts, but here, I'll start here. So basically, I think my problem with your worldview, or with how you're starting it out, is that you're saying, oh no, like there has to be an unchanging God, because then anything else is relative and therefore like subjective. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No. What I'm saying to you is that knowledge itself is not possible. If knowledge itself, the thing that you appeal to, has an arbitrary metric, knowledge becomes impossible. You can't know anything if you say there's no standard which is unchanging for which we can know a thing by. Therefore, no belief you have can be true, because knowledge itself is a justified true belief.
Yeah.
He's so confused.
Yeah,
even if we grant that knowledge is impossible, that
doesn't mean your beliefs aren't true.
No, what happened?
He just said
exactly.
That your beliefs are not going to be true.
We could just grant that knowledge is impossible. Yeah.
That's like the most craziest thing that doesn't follow in the world.
I don't know what's going on in his head, but I don't know how you get from knowledge is impossible, therefore every belief you have can't be true. Why would that be?
That is
right?
Maybe could you imagine? So annoying, bro. I hate this.
Maybe, right? You don't have knowledge, but I'm walking around with all true beliefs. You know, maybe that's the case. I don't have any justification, but I'm walking around with a bunch of true beliefs. Why couldn't that be the case?
Not even that. Like, let's say if you take a theist who like just has absolutely no idea about the philosophical landscape, and he has one belief: there is a God. He's a theist. That proposition is going to be true. He believes in that proposition, yet all the other propositions about the external world are false. Or maybe he just doesn't have good reasons to believe them. I'm like, just because he can't account for knowledge or blah blah blah, does not mean that his beliefs, the belief in some proposition, is not true. Because like, just say you have two atheists. Let's say you have two atheists. One believes the sky is blue. One believes the sky is not blue. Who's correct? And then you like, okay, one of them has to be correct. But see how the belief, it's just mere. Let's say they've lived in a bunker their entire lives. One believes the sky is blue. The other one does not believe that the sky is blue. One of them is correct. Because one of them is correct, one of the statements is true. They believe in a true proposition. There you go. You saw the issue. No, we're not talking about. We haven't even started talking about knowledge yet. I don't know. Crazy.
Yeah, I just want to know what the argument is that that knowledge is impossible without an unchanging God, for one. And I lost my train of thought. I wanted to say, okay, anyways, I'm just gonna keep going. I mean, that just fuck, what was I going to say? You know, I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to keep playing.
Yeah, let's get it.
Okay.
So by having a subjective worldview, from my worldview, you have destroyed the very capacity to even have knowledge.
Yeah. And I think where the major disagreement comes from is that things can be changing, but you can still know of something despite the changes.
How do you know if you can't appeal to a standard from which, if you always appeal to it, is unchanging? How could you ever know that?
Yeah. How do you know?
Is that required, dude?
Wait. This is what's funny. Did you see what just happened here?
Yeah.
He's asking for
right.
He's asking for a KK principle. He's asking, I can know. She's saying, I can know that P. Yeah, but how do you know that you know that P? It's like, well, I don't. That's not. You don't actually. You could just reject the KK and just say, I just know that P, and then that's it. Leave it at that.
Right.
He's just asking.
You got knowledge.
You got knowledge. Yeah. This whole idea of the K, you could just reject the KK principle. Whenever he asks a question like this, just reject the KK. Or if he does, how do you justify a knowing P? Just reject the JK principle. Yeah, it's just he just asks. It's commonly understood as the KK principle, at least in this understanding.
I would love him to talk to like an actual philosophy bro about this shit, because like the rhetoric at some point isn't going to work, especially if you talk to like the sort of Discord debaters that just fucking wreck people. I mean, it's just not going to work, even if you try to rhetoric your way out of it. Yeah, it wouldn't be a good look. All right. Anyways,
water.
No.
How do you know?
Because I see that it is beer, and I know that unless if you decide to do a bunch of like chemical processes, essentially, it's not gonna. So
you're appealing to some unerrant standard, some unchanging standard, which would say that this always must be itself. Like the laws of logic would say, this beer can only be what it is, which is beer, right?
Yeah, I'm basically appealing to. This is where we're gonna start disagreeing, probably. My experiences, essentially, and some laws of logic within like those experiences that I've had. Right.
Yeah, but your experiences are going to have to still be limited to the confines of knowledge, which is still going to be confined to the laws of logic.
Yeah, but those confines are within my reality, if that makes sense. So, okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah, well, hang on. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, you yourself, I think, can have subjective experiences. Sure, yes. I think that you can have many subjective experiences, but that really doesn't have anything to do with whether or not they're true, or whether or not you have the capacity to know things. If you think that knowledge itself has no standard for objectivity, how the hell can you say, I don't know anything if that is the case?
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to get to. Basically.
Hold on, I missed what he said.
Capacity to know things, if you think that knowledge itself has no standard for objectivity, how the hell can you say, I know anything if that is the case?
Well, yeah.
Is he taking knowledge to be something that's not mind dependent?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even. Yeah, you're right. That's gibberish. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means, because there are components of knowledge.
External beliefs. Mind external beliefs.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess I don't know what he means. I mean, there's a very sophisticated literature on, like, you have the internalists who say that all the factors that come to play whenever one knows something are purely internal. Then you have the externalist, so it's not just, maybe he may mean something like that, but like the externalist just says like some things are internal, some things are environmental, or yeah, like your place in the environment. Maybe that's what he means, but like then I don't know what he means by object. It's not necessarily that the belief is objective. It's that the belief. Formation, it comes through things that are not the belief itself. Things like your dispositions, the environment, stuff like that.
Here we go.
That's what I was gonna get to. Basically, for you to state that there is an outside, like external, like unchanging force, you would have to essentially prove that to me.
Why?
Because otherwise,
Proof to okay. So here's the thing. I will give you philosophical proof that there is an unchanging source from which we can always appeal to for knowledge, called the laws of logic. Now, if that is not true, can you explain to me how these can be changed? If they are subjective, they should be changeable.
Wait, does he? Dude, hold on. It sounds like he's saying that knowledge comes from the laws of logic or something. What the fuck is going on?
Always appeal to for knowledge, called the laws of logic.
Wait.
There is an unchanging source from which we can always appeal to for knowledge, called the laws of logic. Now, if that is not true, can you explain to me how these can be changed? If they are subjective, they should be changed.
They just like beam you with
Can you
like knowledge.
change the laws of logic, or can
knowledge? They just got the power to knowledge.
Right.
It's funny. Just got the power to like just toss people knowledge.
Straight from the law of non-contradiction.
You got knowledge. You got knowledge. All right. An interesting question to ask him.
I don't get that, dude.
An interesting question to ask him is like, do you think that like babies or dogs have knowledge? Do you think babies or dogs understand or know about the law of non-contradiction?
I don't know. I want to say that would be a difficult question for him, so he would probably say no.
Yeah, that to me is ridiculous. It's like a dog does not know when there's food on that they don't have food on the table or like food on their bowl or like when I say let's go outside, does my dog not know that he's going outside? I don't know. That just seems completely counterintuitive, completely insane.
Yeah, I agree.
Dogs don't know anything. They're all just brains and bats. True.
That's right. They're all pea zombies. That's my view.
True.
Can you not?
No, I'm saying those logic can 100% not be changed in your reality.
In your reality.
The problem is
in any reality.
You would have to prove to me a reality exists outside of your perspective, which you inherently cannot do because you are quite literally processing.
Go ahead.
Here's something. I know we didn't want to get too deep into logic stuff, but here I want to say something like this whole idea of like there can't be a contradiction in any reality. That's true under specific modal system, right? Under specific logic system.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So like, if you hold to a different logic system, then it could be true that you have some proposition P that it's both true and false, right? If he's just saying, under my reality, he's actually just saying something trivial. He's saying that in no possible world where classical logic is true, P and not P are going to be true, right? He's saying something very trivial. He's just referencing back to the classical logic when he says that. But if you ask him the question, let's say if you take a non-classical view of logic, and then I ask him, hey, Andrew, in a non-classical logic, is it possible for there to be a world with P and not P? What's his answer going to be? In a not specifically, I've specifically worded it in a non-classical logic view. So I'm leaving it very broad. Presumably, yes, right? Depending on the logic system I'm pointing to.
Right.
And I think at the bare minimum, this whole thing is just him pointing to it's just a conditional in a way. If classical logic is true, then there's no possible world where P and not P is true. That's true. But change the antecedent to if some non-classical logic is true, then P and not P is possible to be true in some possible worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you went there because that's exactly what I was thinking when he brought up the reality thing. in any reality. Well, that depends on the modality that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Saying everything through your perspective. Like, it would be an impossible task for me to prove that.
In any reality, do you think that a thing cannot be what a thing is?
Essentially,
Wait.
even if those
I
rules
hate
are
this
true,
question
they're
so
still
much.
confined to my reality.
I hate this question so much
Mhm.
because it assumes what a question Pixie should ask him when you say under any reality. When you ask that question, do you mean it in classical logic or do you mean it in a non-classical logic? Ask for clarity. If he says classical logic, then trivially it follows no, there's no such thing as P and not P in any like possible world. Yeah, this question is just trivial.
Yeah. But he's not talking to a Phil bro, so she wouldn't be able to think about that on the spot.
Yeah, she's a politics bro, right? Something like that.
Reality. Does that make sense?
Even if they're confined to your reality, all I need you to do is envision a reality in which a thing isn't what it is.
Which I can't, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
So in
outside of
all
confines.
possible
my
realities that you
God,
could
I hate
possibly come up with, it's not good enough philosophical proof for you that you can't think of a single one in which the laws of logic would not.
Oh my God, because we're confusing. I mean, he keeps saying words like can, possible, all of these words, and he's also what did he hold on really quick because I had another point there. Because he also said,
back,
I mean, he's just assuming classical logic when he asks these questions.
Apply
Hold on.
Andrew.
Possible realities that you can possibly come up with. It's not good enough philosophical proof for you that you can't think of a single one in which the laws of logic would not apply.
Right. And just because, right. Exactly. Right. Just because we can't, just because we're not able to conceptualize it doesn't mean that it's not possible under a non-classical logical possible world. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. There we go. I got it out. Was there something you wanted to say on that?
No, that is just an incredulity. This is just like appealing to her incredulity. I was like, why isn't it enough that you can't imagine it? I'm like, what? Are we not just now gonna start appealing to like our lack of imagination on things? Like, when did this stop becoming like
it
fallacious?
must be true.
I can't imagine it, so it must be true. Yeah.
Andrew, what I'm trying to convey here.
Mm-hmm.
You see this box?
Yep.
Okay, that's for the audience. You are.
What if she was like, this is the classical logical box, and on the outside of the box we have possible worlds that don't follow classical logic. These are non-classical logical possible world. What if she just like went in?
That'd be so funny.
In this box.
Okay.
And you're basically saying, oh, nothing outside this box can exist because I cannot perceive of anything outside this box. But just because you cannot perceive of anything outside this box doesn't mean that there's nothing outside the box. You are confined to the box through your experiences.
This is just an argument from incredulity, ultimately. What you're saying is it's.
Yes, that's what you're asking her to do, Andrew. You're asking her to make an argument for incredulity. That's just crazy. Yes, Andrew, you're asking her to. You can't imagine it, so you should believe in classical logic. Yeah, I'm like,
right.
No. That's what he's asking her to do.
God, dude, that's hilarious. Oh my God, that's so funny. All right. I know there's a delay there, so I paused it and I just waited for you to say something because I knew that would trigger you.
That's so annoying.
All right, here we go.
Possible that there are things which exist. True. That's just incredulity.
Yeah, no.
That's just incredulity. It's a fallacious argument. What I need you to do is tell me, based on any experience, subjective or otherwise.
To explain to me why.
I just did. I gave you the.
No, you didn't. You said it's fallacious, but you did not explain to me why it's fallacious.
The argument from incredulity is a fallacious argument.
You have to explain to me why you believe it's fallacious.
No,
you can't.
Andrew was the one pointing at her for like you're believing, like your lack of imagination should guide you to believe that classical logic is true. I'm like, she's the one saying that this is an argument from Enkidu. That it's I don't know how the fuck this just happened, but they just like switched roles.
Yep.
And yeah.
I wish he would have caught on to it because like he's good with that. I'm not gonna lie. Like the sort of like the sort of like rhetoric that he can pull on people and they don't catch it. It's impressive. Like how the fuck did he go from saying, well, you can't conceptualize it, so you should believe that classical logic is the correct logic, to to him claiming, well, just because you can't conceptualize it, like you just completely flipped it. That's so funny, dude.
Yeah, bro, I just completely flipped it on her. I have no idea how. I'm like, she wasn't even the one saying that.
Oh, that's fucking great. Good for him. You know what? W. Andrew for that one.
Yeah, true. Bro, she got gaslit into holding that view, bro. That's crazy.
Straight up gaslit, dude.
That's crazy.
Fuck. Let's go. W gaslighting.
Yeah, true.
Because I could be incredulous about any argument you make, right? You could say, for instance, I'm not here right now, right? And I go, well, I don't believe that. Well, that's not an argument. That's not an actual argument.
That's not my argument is essentially.
Yeah, hang on. Do you agree with me that would be fallacious argumentation?
I would agree with you, but that's not what I'm saying.
It is what you're saying. You're saying because I can't envision something outside of anything which can even be envisioned, where the laws of logic may not be true. You're just saying conceptually there could be. But when I ask you to demonstrate a reality in which it could even be true, you still can't even do that.
No, because.
You want to say anything? I feel like we're just kind of beating it over the head.
I'm just going to be repeating myself. There's no point. I've already said everything I needed to say.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I got you.
Because what I'm trying to say is that inherently, every law of logic, every experience you have, everything you ever do must go through your own perception first.
Okay, but you would agree with me, even if that's true, okay? You think that other people have perceptions, right?
Yes, but I can never prove it fully.
From your perception, you think, but you do think that.
I can think that, but I'll never be able to prove it fully.
But you don't really need to. You don't really need to prove it fully. We can just go off of your perceptions then. If you can't prove anybody else has them and only you have them, inside of anything in which you can envision, you, from your subjective metric, the only one which exists or is necessary, can a world exist where the laws of logic do not apply?
No, but here's the deal, right?
That's powerful philosophical proof, by the way.
But
of an unchanging standard, which can be.
He thinks just like repeating that and saying you can't conceptualize it.
Yeah, because when he's asking, can there be a world where the laws of logic are true? That the modal expression of can is referencing back to classical logic. What he's really asking in here, given classical logic, is there a possible world where P and not P hold? No, trivially. Now, but what if I was in that position with Pxie? I was like, given some non-classical logic holds, could there be a possible world where P and not P hold? I would want to see what Andrew has to say about that.
I'm assuming he would just double down on classical logic. That'd be, and then he'd probably shift the burden.
Now that's just assuming classical logic. I'm not asking about classical logic. I'm asking about non-classical logics.
Right. Yeah. All right.
Here too for knowledge.
Here's a deal, right? If we can agree that even though I do not know, or I cannot prove something outside of my own perception, that's an impossible task to do. It is still real to me, right? It is still something that is, actively affecting my life. I cannot just pretend it doesn't. It doesn't make it any less real. Does that make sense? Did I explain myself fairly?
You can say that, but I'm just going to grant it. I'm just going to grant that it's all real to you.
Okay.
So even granting that it's all real to you, right? From what is real from your perspective, can you change the laws of logic?
No, we've
Hang
already
on,
gone through
just
that.
answer the question.
No, I did. I answered
So
it
if the
3
answer
times.
is yes, then that's the only standard you can appeal to for objective knowledge, right?
What, the laws of logic?
Yeah. What other objective standard can you think of which is
Well,
unchanging?
that's the point that I'm trying to get across.
so confused.
Is that even
Why are
if
we
there
going
is
back
a
to
reality
logic? I don't get
outside
it.
of my current experience, which I do not know if that's the case, whatever.
Mhm.
There are still these basic components of our experiences. And yeah, like the laws of logic, in a sense, are an experience, right? Thinking like 1 + 1 = 2 is something that you are actively experiencing, going through, thinking about, putting together.
No, I disagree. I believe that these are discovered. They're not subjective metrics of the human mind, but rather discoveries, which you find because they're true,
So now
external to mind.
you're presupposing an external world, which brings us back to our original problem.
Hang on. I'm not presupposing an external world. What I'm saying to you is, from your subjective metric right now, which is what you consider to be everything in reality which exists and that you could ever perceive of, from that metric, do you agree that when you pass away, the laws of logic will still be here, even if you can't perceive them?
Yeah, no, that's presupposing that there is a existence outside or
That's
after
right.
myself.
Everything is a presupposition which reduces itself to an unerring standard, which has always been there and always will be there and always must have.
Don't think, what is it? I'm trying to think how to phrase this. You're basing your worldview off
How
a
deep are
presupposition
we
that
in
there is
this
an external
debate?
world, which I don't even 100% disagree with.
And still no feminism?
What I'm trying to convey.
About
Almost
26
30?
minutes.
Okay.
Yep. I think the only philosophy domain we haven't touched is aesthetics.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we did touch a little metaphysics.
I think we touched. Yeah, right. Because he wants to say like
on language. Well, no, because I guess theories of knowledge does
No.
touch on language a little bit. Yeah, our analysis of language. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we only aesthetics. There are objective look goods in the world. Yeah, true.
that's true. Let's go. Hold on, I'm trying to think. No, I think we've hit everything. All right. I think they do get into feminism soon, so we can end it right when they start talking about feminism.
I bet.
Is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah, just the philosophy side. I don't care about the feminism side. I don't know too much about it, so maybe you should bring on Michael Humer to give you a take on it.
Yeah, true. All right.
Here is that it is
No. You're presupposing that you can have this conversation right now. You're presupposing that you have knowledge right now. You presuppose everything leading to this conversation, and everything you presuppose leading up to it has a requirement for knowledge.
That's very bold of
which
him.
you presuppose baked into the laws of logic, but won't grant that there has to be has to be an unerring standard. What else would you call that but God?
That's right.
Oh, okay. Is it? I mean, we could get into like a theological debate about
to feminism,
Okay.
right? If I have substantially answered your questions so that you understand where I'm coming from my worldview.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess I'm just like a little bit uncertain when it comes to.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then I would have to cross-examine what you gave us for utilitarianism, which wasn't much.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
we could dive into that.
Sure.
But I would like to dive into the purpose of the debate now that you know my worldview.
Okay,
the
we can
worldview
dive
itself
into
wasn't to be
feminism.
the debate, though I'm happy to do one in the future with you on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Pxie,
yeah, the only reason, but
you
if
see
anything,
this?
we'll just circle back.
Hit me up.
Yeah, we can.
I'll give you a
'cause
dope ass epistemology.
What my concern.
We'll virtue target you.
Chad move.
Yeah, true.
Let's go. That's right. Well, they're about to start talking about man versus bear, it looks like, which is fucking cringe. Jesus Christ. I don't know why people talk about that. All right. Did you have any,
That-
I don't know, final
Final
thought?
thoughts?
I can't believe, because with really quick before, yeah, well, before, um, I don't know why they felt the need to get into all that, because if you're talking about feminism, it seems like you'd be talking about like political philosophy, maybe well, obviously like normative ethics, and they'll probably talk about meta ethics as well and applied. um I don't know why all that was necessary. I almost guarantee, I haven't watched the rest of this, but I almost guarantee they didn't get into knowledge again. I guarantee they didn't get into the laws of logic again. I get like it was, that seemed completely unnecessary.
Yeah, so well, I don't know why we need to talk about knowledge. You could just have beliefs. You could just talk about the beliefs. I mean, you could talk about the support for the beliefs too. But that's what the debate would be about, is like, how do you defend feminism? Yeah, we just went through every field, almost every single field in philosophy for no reason. I just went for a roller coaster, and this was crazy. I don't know. I don't have anything else. I said everything during this their back and forth. So terrible, terrible,
Yeah,
terrible,
same.
terrible.
All right, well, thank you for doing this. I think